They know what we're like now anyway.
You'd think, wouldn't you, that 1 minute, that doing a proper podcast, you'd actually be professional about it, but
Yeah, but that's
you
the
don't
fun of
mean
it
to be
though.
late.
Do you remember the first one we did when we were like scripted? We were like asking questions, and now we're like, okay.
Yes. We pimped up the pod that I sit in, but I'm just trying
Ah,
to get the lighting right. Yeah. So I'm like, is it better if I make it dark? So I've put a
oh,
new
that's
light
better.
up. Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Down a bit. No,
Oh gosh. Oh, but Instagram's let me put a new link up now. I can link to our resources, so
that's good.
that's cool. So today we are talking about. So you want to start your own VA agency, and we're going to be really open and honest about what it takes to run a VA agency, and all of the pitfalls and all of the highlights, I suppose, about what's included in that. So we are a VA agency. I started LTVA services in 2021, and I knew I wanted it to be an agency straight away, and very quickly took on a couple of associates and Kirsty. And you, I can't remember when you joined. Was it, I think it was within the first 12 months,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
it was. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
remember when we first spoke, and I think you were.
Kirsty was stalking me.
If I'd have been
Let's be
close,
honest.
if I'd have been close, I'd been sat outside your house like, hello.
Oh
Yes,
God.
I think you had a couple of associates, but it was still like baby days, wasn't it? It was still really early.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was lucky because I took on two associates that were really, really good. They were really, really lovely, and I kind of fell into a trap of thinking, "Oh, this is a doddle. This is so easy."
Have you done it before?
It's nothing like that. But what happened? I knew because I'd run a previous business for 10 years, and I had these grand ambitions of scaling that business, and I fell into that trap that so many business owners fall into of saying, there's not much income, and so they hold on to their finances because they want to bring in more. And you're like, I will soon. I know it's hard right now. It's just for now. It's going to get better. I just need a few more clients. And it's total crap because your capacity doesn't change. It stays the same. And I failed to scale that business until year 7. In year 7, due to personal circumstances, I was forced to have to make changes. So I took on an employee, 10 subcontractors, and 2 commercial companies to outsource to, and the business started to grow. And it was because I had been that bottleneck the whole time. I was doing the admin, the marketing, the sales, the delivery drive, and the actual work. And it's ridiculous to think that you can run a business like that. So I knew when I started LTVA services that I'd have to make some really difficult choices really early, but for a fast outcome. And so one of the things I did was I worked out, well, how much do I need to earn just to help pay the bills, right? What's that figure? And once I reach that figure, everything else is for reinvestment. And so what I did at the time was I reinvested into Google Ads, but also I started to take on associates, even though it was scary. And I was like, but I could really do with that work, and I really want to keep that client for myself. But I knew it would be the fastest way to scale, and it worked because we got to a 6-figure turnover in under 4 years by doing that. I think we've ended up with a team of 13 at one point, 3 at another, 8. It's gone up and down over the years. But for me, always needed to be that way. And I do actually, as much as it's not easy and it's hard, I enjoy the management side rather than the client delivery side. So I think if you are that kind of person and you prefer that kind of work, then it's a good option.
Mm.
If you are just looking for a standard amount of money every month, you just want this to pay your bills, you're not really bothered, then scaling isn't for you, because actually sometimes it's better to stay freelance and solo. You can earn more money that way. But if you really do want to build your business up to a saleable asset, and one day sell your VA business, it is essential that you turn it into an agency, because the only way you can sell a business is if you're not chained to it. So that was my story and why I wanted to do that. I wanted to scale. I wanted to make it something I could sell. Lots of women in the UK. I don't have a pension plan, or I do, but it's really, really crap. And so I wanted something that I could build and exit from. And what about you, Kirsty? What was your thought process when you started your business?
To be honest, I would have never, when I first started, have thought about being an agency, because like you, I would be scared to bring on associates, because you think, well, I want that, and we all want to earn more money. It doesn't matter what business you're in or
Yeah.
what you do. The actual aim of the game is to earn money, right? And that's the thought process of going, well, I could bring an associate in and give them that client and then pay them that money, but you don't. That's not your thought process. Your thought process is, oh, I'm doing this. This is my business. It's just me. And actually, one really good point that we always talk about is I don't see myself as a CEO. I don't even have that in my signature. I just go, oh yeah, it's my business. And I feel like, I sometimes feel a bit silly going, oh, I'm the CEO, because there's nobody else in the business. It's just me. Do you know what I mean?
But that you could be the director. You could put yourself down as the director, because that's who you are.
Yeah, I suppose I could, but my actual opening idea was never to bring anybody in, because, to be honest with you, I never thought I'd be as just blowing smoke on my own arse here. I never thought I'd be as successful as I actually am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the thought of actually selling the business, I'd be, what would I do all day?
Yeah. Well, now think about it. You've reached capacity recently. I know there's been some movement, but you've reached capacity. And at that point, would you then think, oh, okay, well, I don't want to turn clients away, so I could take on some associates if more clients come in and give the work to them, because you obviously do earn a profit off it. Would you consider that?
No, I've never even thought about taking somebody else on. And I always say this, and I still haven't done it. I should really get an assistant. And I keep trying to drag Amy in to be my assistant and do my admin and that kind of thing. She goes, yeah, that'd be a great idea. And she never does. But I really could do with somebody that I could just offload my admin on. And at the moment, I'm kind of toying with the idea of that. I'm actually bringing somebody in to look after my accounts and stuff like that. So I am kind of scaling, but in a really slow way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of it, and I think bringing somebody into the business, and my kind of mindset is, by the time I've taught someone how to do it, I could have just done it myself, which is the wrong attitude to have.
Yeah, that's why you have to have your standard operating procedure. You have to have your processes mapped out in a document, and then you can hand it to someone, and it's easy to train them then. I want to explain to people what an agency is. So it's not a big mystery. It's not a big legal thing. It's really simply that you are taking on associates to deliver the work on behalf of your company. That's it. It's as simple as that. So the minute you start working with other people to deliver the work, you become an agent. And that's all it really is. You don't have to have any special licenses. You don't have to have any special insurances. We get all our VAs to show that they've got their own insurance. You don't have to there's nothing extra involved apart from just that. So before we move on, I just want to remove that mystery. It is just as simple as taking people on. But I want to talk about the benefits of it as well. So like you've just said, the benefit isn't just to have an associate to deliver the work. You can get associates that can also support you as well. So you could start there. You could start with someone that does help you with your admin, and then you get to know them and you get to know how good they are, and then you'd feel more comfortable passing some work over from new clients that come on board. So the benefit is, obviously, you offload some of your work. It also means if you go on holiday, your clients have got somebody else that can cover for you, so they're not left stranded. And that's a really, really good selling point as well when you're trying to bring in new business. And also, it means you can utilize the skills of someone else. So if you're like an admin VA and you can't do tech and you can't do marketing, but there's more money to be made in that area, then you can take on associates that can do those things, and you can offer services that you wouldn't normally be able to offer. So those are some of the benefits. And now that I've explained it like that, do you see the benefits in a way that you could think, well, if I was to leave, Lisa tomorrow and go off and do my own thing, that's probably exactly one of the things I could do.
Blasphemy! How dare you say that?
But you know what I mean.
No, I do. I know what you mean, but I still think it's sort of like, I've never really been that kind of person where there's a like the end goal is to be an agency or like to sell the business or anything like that. I've always kind of been quite happy just plodding along doing what I'm doing. So I think, and that's probably
Oh,
a mindset thing. I would say it doesn't, um, for want of a better word, it doesn't inspire me to one day go, well, I've got this many people working for me and I can take that much time out of the business, because I just want to keep going as much, and do as much as possible, which is the wrong way to do it. Because, as you say, if you don't delegate, you can't scale because we're time poor, like all of our
yeah.
clients.
Yeah, absolutely. I only deliver project work now. I don't work day to day with clients anymore. And it gives me loads of time to work on new strategies and new ideas. And I like that kind of thing, but that's not for everybody. And that might not be for you either. But the golden question I want to ask to every VA is, what are you going to do with your business the day that you want to retire?
I haven't got that far, I don't think. I've just
Well,
always.
no, you're not that old, but in your head, in your head.
No, I mean that. I mean, like in my head, like when I go to retire, what am I actually going to do? I'd be bored out of my mind. Like I would just, and I get it. I've always been like that. I've always worked, no matter what. I've always been either employed or done my own thing or whatever. And I kind of think like I don't think I'd have a date or a time in mind that I'd go, well, I'm done now. Because I've just never really thought about it.
Yeah, but okay. So, what about this then? Something happens that forces you to have to stop. So, somebody in your family becomes critically ill or injured, you need to care for them. You yourself become critically ill or injured. Then, how does your business function if you're the only person in it?
I'll give it to you.
Well, you wouldn't be able to, you'd be in a coma, love.
Oh no, I've got a little note written down. Everything goes to Lisa.
But the truth is, not enough VAs put these measures in place. They're not thinking about it. You
Mm.
know, I do have a plan of what happens so that people can access bank accounts and pay people and things like that. But if I was a solo VA, then I'm not thinking about those things. And then one day, all of a sudden, that income would literally just stop because I'm sorry, you can be the best virtual assistant in the world. But if you end up in hospital for a prolonged amount of time and you can't work, those clients are not going to stay loyal to you
Yeah.
and your income will instantly dry up. So, one of the reasons becoming an agent, or at least working with associates, is, and it doesn't have to be like a big thing, it can just be that you've got a little pool of associates that you can lean on. One of the reasons that's important is to protect you in case something like that happens, and they can like kind of pick up where you've left off. But also, in the UK, and I can never get this right, how to pronounce it. There's a thing called Ebitar. I can't say it. EBIDTA, and it's what's used in accounting or for brokers when they are deciding on the value of your business, and it's a score, a percentage based on what your profits are. But one of the factors they look for, especially in the service-based business, is your monthly recurring revenue and whether or not the business can function for at least 2 weeks without you. If the business can't function for at least 2 weeks without you at the helm, it's not a saleable asset. So if you want to one day think, okay, well, I'm not thinking about this now, but one day I might want to sell my business. I don't want to just give it up and all that hard work's for nothing. Then I have to make it saleable. And one of the problems I had in my first business is I did sell it, but for pennies because I was tied to the desk. So I was the person doing everything. So I couldn't sell it for very much. I couldn't do it in the right way. It was private sale. I sold it twice actually, and it's a funny story. But I sold off one part of the business, kept another part, and then I ended up selling that too. And that wasn't like a plan. It just, there were circumstances that happened. But the point is, I could have got a lot more money for that bloody business, and all those 10 years of graft I put into it would have been worth something had I, not being the person tied to it so much. So it is something to think about as well. And I think it is something you should definitely think about because you have built something.
Mm. It is. It's a thing, isn't it? Because that kind of thing doesn't cross your mind. You don't think, well, what actually, if I was out of the business for a long length of time, like what would actually happen to my clients and to the business? No one has access to my business bank account. There's bugger all in it, but then nobody has access to it. But nobody knows the codes, nobody knows the passwords, nobody knows anything to any of my laptop or my desktop or anything like that.
Mm.
So it is something that I think everybody should really think about and have and put in place, to have somebody there that you can rely
Yeah.
on that can access that kind of and pick up. And that's why sometimes we often talk about buddying up with VAs, don't we? So,
yeah,
particularly a high hourly package client. So if one person is for some whatever reason taken out of the business for a long period of time, that person can then just pick up straight away.
yeah, definitely. It's worth doing, even if you just do that. But if you are thinking about scaling into an agency, and some of this resonates, you think you're right. I can't offer a tech, I can't offer marketing, I can't offer finance or HR, but I could utilize the skills of someone else, and that would be amazing. And I could really start making a little bit more money. Let's talk about what you have to do to make that happen. So, one of the things I would say you have to do now more than ever is build your personal brand, because you're going to have to be able to find clients to give to these associates. One of the misconceptions is that you can't take on associates until you've got loads of clients, and that's not true. So I didn't have loads of clients coming in. I would still vet VAs and then have them ready to go, so to speak. And I'd always just tell them, look, I haven't got loads of clients coming in at the moment. I'm hoping to eventually, but I've now got you approved, ready to go for when that happens, so there's no delays. And so you don't have to wait until you've got loads of clients. You're just honest with the VA so that they can carry on trying to find work elsewhere. But once you know you've got those VAs in the background, it kind of gives you a little bit more confidence to go out there and find those clients. And then you can advertise on your website the additional services you're now going to be able to offer, because you know you've got those people ready to go. So I think that you start vetting. Vetting is a whole science on its own, as we know. And you start building up that little pool. You only need a couple to begin with, maybe one in each area. So one that's really good at the marketing and tech side, one that's really good at admin, and that's all you really need to get going. So even if you just start with 2 associates, you're not paying them anything until you take on the clients. Yeah. So I think you can just get started there, but you've got to make sure that you are checking them, like making sure that you're checking them right from the day dot, because we made so many mistakes in the beginning, didn't we?
We did, but it's a learning curve, isn't it? It's all a learning curve, and I think as trusting people, you do expect people to be on the same trust level as you, and I think that's probably where we went wrong, because we looked at it like these people were coming to us to work with us as an associate, but actually we probably should have been a little bit more cautious. But as I say, it's a learning curve. You have to have those processes. Don't be afraid to have those processes in place, because that's your business. And at the end of the day, people are coming to you as a business to work with. And if something goes wrong because you've got the wrong people, that looks bad on your face because you haven't done your proper checks. And it's fine to have as many steps as possible. We didn't have any of these in place before, and now we've got a really strict process. And there's some people that do say, I can do A, B, and C, and actually they can't do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They're just like, I can do anything, but actually they can't. And that's where you get rid of those people that are either time wasters or just going to make a massive bad dent in your business.
Yeah, because you don't want your reputation to be ruined. I mean, what we used to do was we'd just say, oh, can you send us your CV? And I remember somebody having a rant about this online, about why anyone should ask a VA for their CV. And they were right. I was like, wow, that's a good point, because what does your education or your past work history in that way tell me about your abilities as a VA? They don't tell me anything. Virtual assistants have often got transferable skills that they've taken from elsewhere. So all you really need to know is that they can do the job. So what we used to do was ask for CVs, and we had like just blanket packages, 5 hours, 10 hours, 15. It wasn't differentiated based on skill set. And what that meant was we'd get VAs come through that could say they could do everything, but they could only do basic admin because we hadn't made a space for them. So they felt like they had to say, and I remember, because it still hurts me to this day, that we lost £1,000 a month on one bad hire, because she gave us a CV. She said she was a tech VA. I wasn't great at really interviewing people. I just have a chat with them on the phone. I think I was a bit scared, a bit of imposter syndrome, like you're the boss or something. And then she came on board and it was just a disaster because she couldn't do those things. And after that, it really taught us something. So she wasn't the first. We had a few other people that, came on board and they weren't very good. So we just kind of got rid of them. But hadn't lost us any clients. But with her, what that taught us was we needed to differentiate our packages, which is what we did. And we made the Simply Admin, the Admin Plus Marketing, the Admin Plus Tech. And that meant that VAs could comfortably say, actually, I can only do admin, and know there was still a place for them. And that was kind of game changing. And then we stopped the CV asking, and we asked them just for their experience instead. What could they do? And so I think that really started to get us the right kind of people. But it's so funny because we always did a form, didn't we, on the website that they'd fill in and they could say what they could do. That was the first step. Then when we received that form, we would check, we'd look and say, okay, if they've said they are a tech VA or a marketing VA, the first thing we're going to do is go check out their website. We're going to go check out their LinkedIn, their Instagram. And if there's problems with it, we're not going to even go to the second level with that person, because you can't say you've got those skills and yours is rubbish. And so that's what we did. And you know, some people might disagree with that, but we can't take chances on people that say they can do things they can't do. And then it helped us then to move people to the second stage. And on the second stage, it's a scenario-based questionnaire, which is really designed to trip people up that could be lying about their skills. Some people wouldn't even fill it in.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm assuming they knew.
Exactly. It's difficult, isn't it? Because if you think like the things of like ChatGPT and stuff like that, but we did design it so we could, you know, not trip people up, but to eradicate those people that were just going, I can do everything, you know, when they actually couldn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much more to just your skills in a VA. You need someone who's going to be professional. They're going to show up with the right attitude, dress the right way. They're going to be able to be personable, relatable, proactive. We've had some freaking disasters, haven't we? We always gave, I think, did we start this from the beginning? So I think we had a VA and she came on a call with me and you, and we were like, what? The background of her house was unreal. It was disgraceful. It's like, that can't be, that's going to be a landfill. That can't be somebody's actual home. Do you remember how bad was that? You can't concentrate.
No.
Oh my God.
It was. I was just like, have you been burgled?
You did say that, didn't you?
Because
it was awful.
It was awful. And I remember I did another one. Oh my God, I will never ever forget this. She came on the call and she was fine, absolutely fine. And then we matched her with a client, and she got on the call to the client and she was vaping, which is so unprofessional. And then she was talking about her kids who'd just done or whatever in their nappy. And it was just horrendous. And I remember the client just came to me, and she was a really nice client as well. And I physically had to leave the office after I'd read the email. I was so embarrassed. I was so traumatized.
Yeah, and
Can you remember that? Oh my God.
Yeah, I can remember. And I'd met her and she would have been fine on the call. But that's the problem, you see. You don't always know how they're going to show up for clients. But again, all of this served as a learning curve for us. So we put out a standardized tips thing that said, you know, to VAs, when you're going to call with a client, please make sure your background's blurred. Make sure you're not wearing clothes with slogans on it that are offensive. Make sure that, I mean, obviously all common sense stuff, but believe it or not, people need telling. You know, make sure that you're not wearing your pajamas and that you show up in enough. And so we started to tell VAs how to show up on calls, and that really helped and change things. And then we stopped introducing VAs to clients. I mean, that's not to say you can't go down that path and something like that situation can still happen like it did with that woman, but it just kind of removes that early friction. So we did that. I mean, I remember having a call, and not just you should also see the red flag. So I used to have a VA that was on the team, and she'd go away in her caravan a lot, and that's fine because I've done that too. And then one day I was in a call and she showed up and she's in her pajamas, in her awning, lying on a beanbag, right, so I can see the full view of her chilling. And I'm like, this isn't going to work, because if you're showing up like this for me, what are you showing up like with clients? You'd want to impress me, surely, because I'm going to give you clients. So that was like, honestly, the minute, if you've got VAs showing up and there's something not right, and not just with the way they look or their background, but the way they're talking,
Mm.
are they really slow and they're really like, yeah, you can't have people like that. You
Right.
just can't. It's dull as dishwater, and you
Yeah.
need some personality. The other
Mm.
problem is you might meet clients that are neurodivergent, and if you've got a lot going on in the background, it draws them away from. I'd say this is a tip as well for discovery calls. It draws them away from you and the focus of you and what you're talking about, and into what's going on behind you. So
Yeah.
you should always a standard blur your background anyway, or
Mm.
have absolutely nothing going on in the background. Certainly not what looks like you've been burgled. I still can't believe that. Um, that was an interesting person anyway. And so sometimes you work with someone a while before you realise all of these things. We've had VAs show up with their own branding. And we're like, you can't do that on client
Mm.
calls. You can't show up with your company and your branding. Like, that's obvious because you're working under our brand and our company. So these are all rules that you have to kind of build in early to
Mm.
make sure that your associates are going to be representing you in the right way,
Mm.
and you have to have some strength about you to do that.
Yeah.
You can't be weak or see yourself not as a leader. You are a leader. It's your business. What you say goes. But
Mm.
I'm going to talk about all the negatives first to get them out of the way before we move on to the positives. So over the years, we have had some really good virtual assistants, but we've had some really bad ones too. And we've had some that have come on board and they've appeared really great. Um, we've kind of taught them things and then they've used that to go off and kind of do their own thing. And you have to kind of accept that and take it on the chin. And we've had some that have blatantly stolen clients, tried to steal clients, or have um, discreetly tried to steal clients. And
Mm.
that is probably the biggest pitfall and the biggest worry of
Yeah.
taking on associate VAs, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, and I think that is a main reason why a lot of solo VAs don't do that. They don't take it on associate
Mm,
because, and I think as well, one other really key point if you are thinking about taking on associates and going into an agency, is to have a really clear contract, associate contract, and one massive thing to have in that contract is associates don't discuss pricing, they don't discuss packages with any clients whatsoever, because we had the same VA that had been burgled, was talking to clients about reducing their hourly rate, or no, sorry, reducing their hourly package because they weren't using the time, blah blah blah, and that's not her job. And I think as well, one thing I have learned from being an associate to account manager for the business is that yes, you need to be nice and approachable and friendly and all of that kind of thing, but also you aren't these people's friend. You're there
mm,
to manage them. Okay. And I
mm,
think sometimes along the way I kind of went a little bit over that line, and I had to check myself a little bit with a couple of VAs because I'm here for all of the team, whatever it is, if they're stressed or need to talk or anything like that, but you have to remain behind that line, because going over the friends zone, I think, is sometimes where, because I did have to reprimand that VA at the time because she was discussing pricing and reducing
mm,
hourly packages with a client. And sometimes if you cross that line, it can be a little bit difficult to actually say, look, you've messed up, I'm going to have to tell you off. And I remember saying to her, look, I am going to have to tell you off because I am your boss, I'm your manager at the end
yeah,
of the day. And I would expect the same
yeah,
from you. We have a beautiful friendship, but if I've messed up, I would expect to be told you messed up,
yeah.
right? So I think it's really
Mm.
key to remember you've got to keep that line. Doesn't matter who's underneath you, you have to keep that manager and friendship very separate.
Definitely, I think that's why it kind of helps if over time you can build in like an account manager, relationship manager, which is what Kirsty's been for me for years and years, where there's that second layer. So Kirsty is the person, because I'm not going to be able to manage all of the associates and do the business. So Kirsty does that, and then that means that you've got somebody that's accountable, like you're accountable to somebody in the business. It kind of helps set the tone and the mindset and the psychology for the associates early doors. And I
Mm.
do think you could start with your own assistant. Kirsty started as my assistant and naturally went into that role, didn't you? And it's worked really well. And it also means that they have someone they can talk to that isn't you, the boss, so to speak,
Mm.
and that makes things a little bit easier as well. But as a boss, look, as the owner of the business, you have to be in it for the team. I made the the mistake of probably getting a bit too big for my boots, thinking I didn't need to be around, and that's where a lot of problems would come in. And I'd noticed that the team weren't so committed and loyal as I wanted them to be. And you've got to remember, these people are running their own businesses, so their business comes before yours. The minute I put myself back into the business, everything changed. So you have to be accessible as the owner of the agency, but it doesn't mean you have to be the manager. And I would probably say at some point, definitely get someone else to do that. It doesn't have to be, mega books or anything like that. But yeah, you're right. We've had, like you've just said, you've got to set those boundaries early and say, look, you're going to work with the client, but if they want to talk to you about hours, they want to talk to you about money, if you think they're not using enough time, that's what you report to your relationship manager, not to the client.
Yeah.
And so it's having all of those rules in place. But we've had associates that have like blatantly discussed money with the client. And we had one woman, I was traveling at the time, and we'd had this back and forth. I wouldn't mind, but before she even came on board, I was having conversations with this potential client. So it's someone I've been working on for ages. He's finally come back. We've matched them and said, like, have a call with her. But the calls were like going on. And it was like, this is ridiculous. Why are you having multiple calls? The deal just needs to be closed. And I remember having a call with her, and I was like, something isn't right here. And I had a call with her, and she was like, I'm just trying to get you more money. And what are you on about? Like, no client's going to pay me more money. So what are you talking about? And it turns out she was saying to him, look, at the end of the day, Lisa's going to pay me this much per hour, but I'd do a much better quality of work for you if I was getting my full rate. And the client came to me almost disgusted that I was taking half her money.
Yeah.
And I was like, hang on a minute. That's not how it works. She's not gone out there and done the legwork and marketed to get this client over the line. I've done that. And it isn't straightforward, like I explained last week. You have a cost to acquire a client. And I said to you, it's about £8.50 for us. You have a cost for your stripe fees. That can be anywhere from £1 to £8. You could be losing as much as £17 per client just to get them through the door. And if you're only paying a VA £25 and that's £45 an hour, that's not a massive profit in there at the end of the day.
That's
and
right,
so, you're trying to explain to the client, hang on a minute, that's not how it works. It's not like, I get a half cut. That's just crazy. And by the way, if you think that's how it works, don't bother starting an agency, because it doesn't.
No.
You have got costs, and you've got to get really clear on your numbers. But I was like, she can do one. Honestly, I think they went off and worked together in the end. But that was where, again, we had a pivotal moment where we said no more. The VAs could not meet the clients anymore. And so we took that off, and we instead recorded videos of virtual assistants as an introduction. And to be honest, it's been absolutely amazing, because we now get clients signing up within 24 to 48 hours, because we've automated the process where they get a video. Here's the associate that can only hold the time for 48 hours. Next day, haven't signed up yet. They're going to be going. Haven't signed up. They're gone.
Yeah.
And they can tell us on the back of that video whether they gel or not. And trust me, they have. Clients have said, "Oh no, you have to send me someone else."
Yeah, and I think it's sort of like, it's such a slimmed down process, because before, when we were doing like intro calls before the clients had signed up, and we did have a few VAs bill us for those discovery calls, right? Do you remember? Even before,
I remember we had to say no.
We had to say no. That doesn't work like that. And I think as well, if you are thinking about being an agency, I think you have to be really clear with associates, because associates automatically expect you to have a bank of clients just waiting for them to come and knock on your door, and it doesn't work like that. And I think associates, you need to have that really clear they need to have a clear understanding of how it actually works. I'm paying you X amount, but actually it costs me X amount to get this client. I do all the legwork, I do all the phone calls, blah blah blah. You pay me to do the phone calls sometimes, or whatever.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think associates sometimes do think that we're just sitting around doing nothing, and that paying them what we're paying them. So I think being open and transparent with associates who perhaps are new to the VA world, or aren't really sure how an associate an agency works or anything like that, need to understand that that's how it works. It's not just, we're not just dragging in the money and going bye, because it doesn't work like that. It's hard bloody work, and there's not a massive profit in it.
Yeah, it's really hard work. And like you've just said, there's that cost to you as well. I have to pay you to do chasing. There's so much admin involved. That's why getting clear about your numbers is really, so if you are going to go down this route, you do have to think about what your actual profit's going to be, your profit margin. So what are you actually going to charge the client, what you're going to pay the VA, what's the cost in between that. So you have to get clear on that. I am running a free workshop on Tuesday the 26th of May, 5 p.m, which is hiring your associates, everything you need to know. So if you want to register for that, go to morethanava.org/events, and it's on there. But I'll pop it into the show notes as well. It's well worth coming along because we can go into a lot more detail than we are on here. So I think we're going to have to talk about this because it's probably the worst thing that ever happened. Don't be tempted to take on your family just because it's easier and it feels comfortable. It can be one of the worst things that you ever do. And I got majorly stung by doing that. So I had a family member who literally ripped my business off, started a competing business behind my back, didn't tell me. And then a few weeks later, stole a client. And that was devastating on different levels. It was really personal to do that. And so I always tell people not to do it. So just don't take on family just because it's comfortable and easy. And I made this mistake. I should know better. In my first business, sometimes when my back was up against it, I would ask family to help, and they'd let me down so many times. Let me down. And so you just independent, go somewhere independent, get if you want to, you can even ask for references. Have you done any previous associate work? Well, can I get some references about that? And we did talk about this recently, didn't we? We don't do that, and we really should.
We should, but I think it's a bit of a difficult area, isn't it, because of like GDPR and stuff like that in terms of getting references. But I think it's sort of like you can actually go to a client and say, you know, this person wants to come and work with me. You know, what were they like? Were they reliable? That kind of thing. So, because I do think it's one thing to have a team of associates who are skilled in their areas, who are very good at their areas, but they have to also be reliable. And I think that if you've got somebody who you can rely on, who's willing to pick up, you know, not straight away, but within, you know, a certain amount of time, then that's going to be a good associate. And I think when we had the problem with the family member, the worrying thing that we had was this family member was actually within this management team. So they had access to the back end of everything. They had access to all of the pricing and all of that kind of thing. And that's where people go, well, I'll just pay you a little bit because you're a family member, because you think they'll be all right. They won't do anything. But people do that. And it's proof because it's happened to us.
Yeah, absolutely. They see what you're doing. They're like, oh, I could do that. Yeah. I've spoken to quite a few people recently who've been through the same situation. So that's kind of crazy. Another thing right now is if you aren't great at AI, but you can take on a VA that is and can do coding with AI, brilliant. Definitely take an associate on that can do that. You don't have to build a massive agency. It doesn't have to be full of people. You could just start small. You can even think about employing people. We had a guest on here that's how she built her agency, which was by employing staff. But even that comes with its problems because she was in the middle of a court battle with someone who'd done similar to what I had done to me.
Yeah.
So, you know, none of it comes.
Oh.
What
happened there?
Oh. Hang on a minute. I dropped my microphone. Am I back?
You're back.
Jeez, now I'm going to have to edit the podcast. But none of it is risk-free. That I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. But I feel like we finally got the formula right. And over those years of making these tweaks and changes, changing our packages, changing our vetting process, I feel like we got the formula right. And we now have an amazing team. Like we really do. But they've been with us for years now, the people that we've got. And we have such a lovely team in the background that we all chat in the group chat. We do a monthly call. We all can rely on each other. And it feels loyal. Now that's not an accident. You have to create that loyalty. You have to create that culture. And we've strategically done that. It's important because that's the only way you're going to get that VA to be invested in you and be ethical and moral and not try and steal clients. But I would say after years of getting it wrong, we finally got it right. And I love what we've got now. I love knowing that I can be on a call with the potential client, instantly be thinking, I'm going to match them with that person. They're going to be a great fit. So I think we've got it right finally.
Yeah, I do as well. And I think you made a good point there about looking after your team, because there are a lot of agencies that do just let their associates just get on with it. And you've got to make sure there's things like, I do a Monday morning check-in. So I work with a client that's got a team of people, and I do a Monday morning check-in with all of my clients' team, just to say, Monday, everyone okay? You know, make sure you're taking the breaks. The hot weather's coming now as well. So I'm like, make sure you're all rehydrating and, like, you know, you've got the right setup and all that kind of thing. And I think I've built up such a nice relationship with all of the team members we've had, good or bad. I've always had a really good relationship with them, and they do feel like they can come to us. And I think it's about nurturing them. And speaking from experience, as somebody who had a very small skill set when I first came as an associate, now I'm so confident in what I do. I don't particularly like taking on new stuff. Like, I've just taken on something today, which I'll tell you about after, which I'm really nervous about. But you can build up your skill sets as well. And that will really be something that an associate that joins you will really take with them. Like, all right, so you're training them to potentially one day go off and do their own thing. But if you're teaching them, they will then in return be so loyal to you because you've helped them to progress.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is about that, and also keeping everything under your brand. You know, all of our associates have an email address in house. They have their calendars through our CRM system. All of our onboarding, we onboard them really gently. They get emails over a month's period to try and help them, settle them, explain how things work. They get access to our own bespoke time portal system where they time all their work, and we give them as much support and help as we possibly can. And if they needed upskilling, we do that. We monitor their abilities, and if we think, you know, this person, they don't know this yet, but I think they could do it, we give them opportunities to do that. Like, we've just had somebody on Go High Level. They've not really used it before, but we know they're really techie and really skilled, so we're like, just have a go. I think that's important, to have that kind of mutual trust between you. And once you do that, then it honestly makes all the difference, because I feel like I can really trust our team.
Yeah, I do as well.
We do give access. So we have a CRM system, the one we use to scale our agency, and it's got all of this already built in for you: your associate onboarding, your client onboarding, the contracts, morethanava.org/CRM, and you can get a 14-day free trial, and everything, all the training is in there for you as well. I'd highly recommend it if you're thinking about building out an agency, because you will need a robust CRM system. But I have no regrets about building the business into an agency. For many reasons. So sometimes, don't get me wrong, there'll be an issue, a problem, and you'll think, oh, for God's sake, you know, why did that happen? I thought they were really good. They've let me down. If you worry about it, is it going to ruin your reputation? And then there's other times where I'm on holiday for 2 weeks and I don't have to think about a thing, because you're there, the team's there. It's all good in the hood. You know, I'll get a call off a client that wants some tech stuff, and I'll be like, oh, I'm passing it on to this person, because I know that I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And so you just get this new kind of flexibility and opportunities to keep growing the business. And remember, when you become an agency, your capacity could be unlimited. It's not like you're suddenly going to reach, oh, that's it, I've hit my ceiling now. You can just take on more clients and more associates.
Yeah.
And I do think there's a magic number. I think you have to get to about 30 clients before you really start to make a profit. But so many VAs I know are already at that and trying to do it all themselves. Like, literally, why would you be turning clients down if you can build yourself an agency?
This is the thing, and I think, again, I'm speaking from experience, because I'm, you know, recently I have been at capacity probably a little bit over, and I have had to sort of say to people, I'm full, but I always recommend you anyway. But that is one key thing I would say to people: don't try and do it all yourself. Yes, it's lovely to have all this lovely money coming in, but at the end of the day, if it's taken away your work-life balance, it's really not worth it.
Yeah, definitely. It's not worth it. And actually, it brings me to a point. So next week, we're going to kind of extend this session, and we're going to talk about when you know you're ready to hire. So we can't fill it all in one session, but there are things you need to be thinking about that tells you whether or not now is the right time. So we're going to discuss that in next week's session. But hopefully that's given anybody listening back a time to think about, okay, I never thought about, you know, becoming an agency would be possible for me. I do want to sell my business one day. Maybe you've thought now about what happens if you get ill. Maybe you're even thinking about starting a family. You know, my situation in my first business was exactly that. I was pregnant and then found out my baby was going to be really, really poorly. No one can plan for that. You don't know that's going to happen. And suddenly I couldn't be the person doing the business every day because I wouldn't be able to be with him in the neonatal unit. So everything had to change, and it can change in an instant. So I want you to go away this weekend, enjoy the lovely weather, you know, lie back in the sunshine and think about what could be possible for you in your VA business. Kirsty, have you got anything to add?
No, I think we've covered everything, but just be really, really clear about, you know, work your numbers. Just make sure that you've got everything laid out straight. Get someone else to review it, have a look at it, and just make sure you're making the right decision.
Yeah, and come join us on Tuesday, 5 p.m. Register morethanava.org/events for the Hiring Associates Everything You Need to Know workshop. And